We left the village at dawn. Fog crawled over the fields, hiding us, or hiding something else. The commander said, "North, old positions, we'll find the radio there." There were 18 of us. No tanks, no backup, no word from HQ. The radio had been dead for 3 days. It felt like the war had already ended, only no one had told us. After a few kilometers, we found a broken road. A truck lay overturned on the side. In the back, boxes of ammo, and a man sitting beside them, his back turned to us. Cap, uniform, everything by regulation. The commander called out, "Hey, you alive?" The figure didn't move, so the corporal stepped closer, touched the man's shoulder, and the whole upper body collapsed, like ash in the wind. The air smelled faintly of smoke, but the metal around was cold. No fire, no burn marks, just that smell and silence. We didn't talk much after that, but later, the ones who saw it swore. They heard footsteps behind them, soft, brittle, like someone walking on thin ice. By evening, we found an old dugout. The door was warped, but it was dry inside. We decided to stay the night. A fire, guards, a map on the table. Routine pretending to be safety. When darkness fell, our sergeant came from another shelter, carrying a wooden box. On the lid, burned letters read, "Archive 1942. We thought it held papers, but inside were cassette tapes, old, melted at the edges. On one, a label said, 'Play only at night.'" The commander laughed. He found an old player, blew the dust from it, and pressed play. At first, static, then a man's voice. Weak, shaking. "If you hear this, don't open the door after midnight. They come without steps. They remember everyone who left them under the snow." We stared at each other. Someone chuckled nervously, but the laugh died quickly, because from deep in the trench came a dragging sound, as if someone was pulling a sack across the dirt. The sound stopped as suddenly as it began. For a while, none of us spoke. The fire cracked softly, and the commander, pretending calm, turned the player off. "Old propaganda," he muttered. "Tricks to scare the enemy." But no one believed that. The voice had felt real, too real. Around midnight, Private Lebedev, who stood guard outside, knocked on the door. His face was pale, eyes wide like he'd seen a ghost. "Sir," he whispered, "someone's walking out there." We followed him up. The moon was weak, a thin scar behind the clouds. Snow had begun to fall, slow, heavy flakes. And then we saw them, footprints, coming straight toward our dugout. Fresh, deep, but they stopped 3 meters from the door. No one there, no movement, only that endless white silence. We stood still for minutes, listening to the wind. Then the commander ordered everyone inside. He locked the hatch, posted 2 men by the door, and told the rest to sleep. I couldn't. I just stared at the ceiling, listening to the whispers of snow outside. It sounded like voices, muffled, patient, calling names I almost recognized. At 02:17, the generator went dead. Total darkness. The air grew heavy, as if something had filled the room. Then from the player, the tape began to spin again. No one had touched it. "Don't forget us," the voice said, weaker now. "We're still here, in the trenches, waiting for the dawn that never came." The commander shouted, ripped the cord out, but the voice kept going, without power, until it faded into static. That was when we heard the knock. 3 slow taps, from outside, and a whisper through the wood. "Open, it's me, Lebedev." But Lebedev was sitting right next to me, frozen, staring at the door. His lips trembled. He didn't speak, only shook his head. The commander raised his pistol. We waited. The knock came again. And then, a hand slid under the door, gray, thin, fingers moving like worms. The commander fired. 3 shots, deafening in the small bunker. The hand vanished. For a moment, everything was silent again, except for the echo bouncing down the corridor. Then came the smell, wet, earthy, and cold, like soil freshly dug after rain. We didn't open the door until sunrise. Outside, no blood, only footprints, hundreds of them circling the bunker, as if something had walked around us all night. Lebedev wouldn't speak. He just kept whispering. They called my name. They knew my mother's voice. By morning he was gone. His rifle still leaned by the door, and his tracks led into the forest. But they didn't go far. After 10 meters, they simply stopped, like he'd stepped into the air and vanished. The commander ordered us to move. No one argued. We left the dugout and kept walking north, past burned-out tanks and silent trees. The snow grew heavier. We followed the compass, but it kept turning, like it couldn't decide where north was anymore. Around noon, we saw a sign, half buried in ice, letters carved by hand. Field Hospital Number 9. It wasn't on any of our maps. Still, we went. Anything was better than the forest. The hospital was just ruins. A few tents shredded by wind, beds twisted by rust, but there were bodies, rows of them perfectly lined, each with a tag tied to the wrist. Names, ranks, dates, and on the last row, a tag that read, Lebedev IA. With today's date, we stared. The commander tore it off, his hands shaking. Someone's playing with us, he said. That's when we heard the generator hum. From inside the main tent. The tent we hadn't opened yet. Inside a field desk, papers scattered, and a reel-to-reel recorder still running, tape looping endlessly. We pressed play. Unit 7B experimental station. Contact with enemy entities confirmed. Phenomena linked to auditory hallucinations. Reanimation of visual memory patterns. Evacuation failed. Subjects no longer respond to physical boundaries. Recommend total isolation. Do not answer when they speak, then silence. And under the machine, in the dust, someone had written with a finger. We answered. We left the hospital at dusk. The wind had grown stronger, carrying voices through the trees. Or maybe the wind was all that was left of them. The commander ordered us to destroy the tapes. We burned them one by one, but as they melted, the air filled with whispers, as if the flames themselves were screaming. We kept marching north. The compass spun uselessly, and every tree looked the same. Night fell again, fast and wrong, as if the sun had simply given up. We found another bunker, half buried in ice. On the wall outside, someone had carved the same words we'd seen before. We answered. Inside, frozen corpses sitting at a table, hands still resting on rifles. Their faces were pale, but not rotted, just tired. The commander froze. One of the bodies wore his own insignia. Same rank, same face. He stumbled back, whispering, "That's not me. That can't be me." But it was. Every one of us found a body that looked like ourselves, sitting there waiting. Then the lights flickered on. The generator. We hadn't touched it, but it was running. The reel-to-reel machine spun again. Cycle complete. A mechanical voice said, "Reconstruction achieved. Awaiting next transmission." The commander aimed his pistol at the machine. He fired. The echo thundered. But when the smoke cleared, the bunker was empty. No bodies, no snow, no sound. Just static, buzzing from everywhere, and faint voices layered beneath it. Ours, repeating the same words again and again. "If you hear this, don't open the door after midnight." 2 weeks later, a recon team from the North Sector found a burned field hospital. No survivors, no bodies, only a melted player, still whispering when they lifted it from the ashes. They remember everyone who left them under the snow, and then silence, until someone, somewhere in the static, laughed softly, like an echo of a man who had finally remembered his own death.